Thanks for joining me for this week's newsletter. So this week we went to the War and Peace Revival, which according to their website is the world's largest military show, each year seeing over 4,000 vehicles and 100,000 people. It's held less than a mile from our house, and Little Doddsy school took her there last year with me as one of the helpers. So she enjoyed it so much that she took Daddy later on, and then this year we went back with her cousins. So Granny got chatted up by Winston Churchill. The children got to drive miniature tanks, and we got to listen to the lovely Swingtime Sisters, who we see on a regular basis. We quite often see them performing at Dover Castle when we go to the events there. The traffic for the show isn't helping the local arrangements around our road system though. We've got Operation Stack on. I keep being surprised when I talk to my friends who aren't actually in Kent that they don't really know what's going on here at the moment. So when the port of Calais closed due to bad weather or a strike in France, they put Operation Stack on, which involves basically parking hundreds of lorries on the M20, which is the main motorway that goes from the M25, sort of west side of the M25 into Kent and down to Dover. And basically the road is closed all the way to our junction, or if it's really bad, it's all the way from junction 8 all the way through to Dover. And that's been on and off pretty much for the last couple of weeks, nearly every day, partly because there's been strikes in France, partly because there's been problems with the immigrants, as I'm sure you are aware, and now we've also got bad weather, so all not going too well. And once the motorway's closed, all the A roads get blocked, and then that in turn affects the B roads, and we end up with virtual gridlock. So it's not been too great here. So it's times like this that I'm glad that I work from home. So Kindle top tips. This week we were at our friend's house who were just about to go on holiday, and Archie had got his Kindle out, and he only really uses it on holiday, so he had got it out for the first time in a long time and was disappointed, gutted in fact, to find that it wasn't working, and he was all ready to throw it away, and we just sort of rocked up and they were telling us about it. So Simon suggested that I Google if anyone else had had a similar issue, and if so, what they'd done to resolve it. So I did, and I fixed it. So I just thought you might like to know that if you turn your Kindle on after a long time and find it's not working, what you need to do is to push the power button for at least 30 seconds, and then when you release it, it should, when you then press it again, all kick back to life again, and then obviously you just charge it and off you go. So he was really happy with that. And another Kindle tip is that I've started playing around with the collections functionality. I've sort of used it in the past, but I've started to use it a bit more to try and organise things that I particularly want to read. I don't know about you, but I've got so many things on my Kindle that I'd sort of add stuff and then it all gets lost as I sort of flick around reading different things, and then I can't remember what I've read and what I haven't. So I've now got a collection that's called Specific Reading, and that's got a dot at the beginning so that it appears at the top of the list of collections, and I'm adding the documents and the books into there that I want to particularly read. And then you probably won't be surprised to hear that I've also got one that's called To Implement, and then any of the stuff that I want to do something more with I add to the To Implement collection once I've read it, and then I can sort of get to it and find it more easily. Focus to improve your productivity. So this week's blog, or actually one of the two of this week's blogs, because I posted the video from last week's newsletter with the audio as well, so I ended up with two blog posts this week. The one this week is called Learn to Say No, Increase the Power of How You Spend Your Time, and it's all about obviously saying no more often so that you get more time to do the things that you want to do rather than doing the things that you feel like you have to do, or the things that you say yes to when you didn't really want to. I've partly written it because I want to link to the report that I mentioned last week, which is all about focusing to improve your productivity. And if you haven't signed up for my mailing list, you won't have the link to download that report, which I sent out on the newsletter. So if that's the case, then if you go to powertolivemore.com and sign up for the newsletter, then you'll be able to download the report from the thank you page. So that's the report which is about focus for more productivity. So simplification, processes and automation. So I've had another week of creating processes and automation to speed up my work and stop me needing to remember to do stuff, and I'm sharing that with you in the hope that it inspires you to do something with some of the things that you have to do, maybe similar things to me or maybe something completely different. So this week I've set up a track, which is what they call them in Capsule CRM, which is basically a list of tasks timed either by the amount of time since the beginning of the beginning of the track started, so the beginning of the project, or timed by the amount of time since the last task was created. So you set up a standard one of those. So I've set that up, and then it fires when I add what they call a case, which is like a project. And all the things I then need to do then appear in my Todoist account, because I've got that linked to that, so that any tasks that are created in Capsule automatically go to Todoist. Most of it was done in Capsule CRM. You can set up the, as I say, the track and the cases so that that all happens automatically and all the tasks are added into your task list in Capsule. But then I use Zapier to set up a Zap to copy all those tasks in Capsule into Todoist, because that's where I actually manage my tasks from my main Todoist account as opposed to within Capsule. So that's the first one. And then the second is when someone books in to record a podcast interview with me using my time trade, I then had to separately go and create a GoToMeeting for the actual interview and then copy that into an email. So firstly, set that up, and then secondly, copy it into an email to send to them. And it doesn't take very long to set up, but it's a bit of a pain having to log in and go and do that. So now I've got a Zap that checks my Google Calendar for appointments that include the words Power to Live More podcast as a subject, and it then automatically sets up a GoToMeeting appointment for me. I put on my newsletter that the next job was to set up how to automatically then email the guest with those details, and I've actually done that since I wrote the newsletter, so I will be sending that in my newsletter next week. But a little heads up for you guys watching it on YouTube is that I've now got it set up so that when GoToMeeting creates, or when there's an appointment created in GoToMeeting, it automatically sends a draft email to my Gmail account with all the relevant details and the GoToMeeting link, and then all I need to do is double check that the date works for me, and then just put the person's name and their email in, and I can send it without doing anything else. So it's quite cool. So I'll tell you a bit more about that again next week, because I'm sure I'll forget that I've already told you. But anyway, all those things keep me happy being organised. So Blogger Babes. Since I've started this website and newsletter and blogging again, I've been really impressed with Blogger Babes. I've downloaded a few of their ebooks from Amazon, and I've joined their mailing list, and I've now also invested in one of their programs, and I'm just really impressed with what they're doing. They're aimed at women, obviously, and they're very pink with their branding, so they're not going to be for everybody. But if you're a female blogger and you're wanting to sort of really move things along and do as much as you can with your blogging, then you might be interested in taking a look. And their ultimate blogging binder is a really great free download that you can get on their website. So I'll put the link to that and the other things I've mentioned in the description here, so do have a look at that. And for those of you who enjoy Little Doddsy updates, Little Doddsy came home the day before the last day of school to say that she needed to create a script for 15 people in her class and a PowerPoint presentation to enable them to deliver a secret, or a surprise, should I say, not a secret, a surprise presentation to their teacher to thank him for being so great with them this year. This is his first year as a teacher, so they were particularly wanting to do something for him. So great, she ended up staying up till 11 o'clock and then got up at 7 o'clock the next morning to do that. So considering she's 8, that was quite hard work for her. Apparently, and this is Ellie's sort of description of what happened on the day, when they did the presentation, one of the other girls got a little upset that Ellie was leading on it, and the teaching assistant said to Ellie, "You're not in charge," and assumed she was being bossy. I don't know where she gets that from. She apparently coped with all that and it was fine, although she was a little disappointed that it hadn't quite sort of gone off as amazingly as she was hoping. But my reflection was that given that she'd done pretty much all the physical preparation for it, with no help from the others save the initial discussion and the ideas, I think actually, she may have deserved to feel a little like she was in charge. But having said that, it was a great learning experience for her on so many levels. And we dropped her yesterday at a 3-day summer school with the Kent County Junior Singers held at a local independent boarding school. This time last year we were off there for her audition, and she's even more excited this time, and she's even taken her copy of Mallory Towers with her to make sure she gets full experience from staying over in a boarding school for a couple of nights. So it's a little quiet here this weekend, but I'm getting some extra work done, so that's good. So, hope you found that useful, and I'll speak to you next week. And just to say, my podcast recordings are going well, and I'll hopefully be launching sometime in August, or maybe not, if not then early September. And I'm still looking for people to interview, so if you'd like to talk to us about what you do from your home office to keep you productive and organised and look after your well-being, then please do get in touch, joe@powertolivemore.com. So watch this space. I'll speak to you next time.